Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with Yvonne and Gretta as well, and always and we are very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you happen to be listening to Transformation Talk Radio right now in the live broadcast or even the Facebook live stream, and if you want to ask us questions, please feel free to call us at 1-800-930-2819. So when you hear that term Realm of Beings, you may ask yourself, who are they and how do they operate in our lives? Why are they even coming through with any messages now? Do we all receive guidance? And if we do, how can we learn to use that in order to flow through our lives more easily? These conversations will help you to examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're doing in your life and how it shows up. This week's quotation that we will be working with is this: life is an adventure that you committed to experience as the force in a state of deepness within. So that is, again, another one that we need to unwrap today and unpack. Ladies, hello, and where do we start this week?
Good morning. Good morning. As the force, we decided. So we use a term called experiential evolution. And that is one of the reasons why the force is creating all of these experiences, which we are part of the experiences. The experiences that we kind of stream out and create. So not only are we each experiencing it, but the force is also experiencing everything. That shows its vastness, it shows its omniscience, and its presence and its divinity. And it is all. Sometimes people refer to the force as all that is. I know Seth does in his text that he uses, that he's written with Jane Roberts. Sometimes he's referred to it as that. But we also say that we are the force. Some people say, well, I'm part of the force. No, you're not part of the force. You are the force. So if we look at that in terms of us being the force, and we say life is an adventure that we committed to experience as the force is committed to its own evolution, of which it's doing at a constant basis. It never stops. And we are in that, adventure, you know. We admitted that, not admitted, but committed, maybe we did admit that we are into something, but we are committed to being in this quote unquote life experience right at this particular moment. But we have so many ways of choosing it. But within this, and then I want to turn it over to one of you guys, but the withinness is your deepness of self, that we always look outside ourselves. And that's what we've been talking about in this podcast. It's not to look outside ourselves, but always to look inward, because the force is inward. It's in us. It's in the deepness of everything that is a part of us. And we are it. So there. I don't know if that helps a little bit. I see you smiling, Yvonne, so you got something. Oh, unmute yourself, Yvonne.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, you honed in on the force, experiencing the force. I think what comes up for me just when I read that quote, and I've studied it, and since we've selected it out of the list, the adventure piece of that. Life is an adventure. And I think when, at least from my experience, I focus on the lightness and the adventure of it, doesn't seem as daunting, to try to wrap our mental brain, our head around these concepts, which are can be challenging at times if we grow up in an environment that we're not really been attuned to them or familiarized with them since we were young. So we just kind of jump in as older folks, trying to understand that our life, we are the force, and our life is this right now is just one of the many experiences that that we have had and will continue to have. And I don't know, I just see us all in one big circle, one collective, where we're all sharing we're all the same energy in that circle, and we're holding hands with, like the force is us. So you and Leigh and me and everybody that's watching and listening in, we're all the same energy. That is the force. And the deeper we go inside is what helps us to understand this and remember actually in our everyday lives. So yeah, go on a trip. I don't know, like life is an adventure. We can choose to keep it light on our trip out there, or go deeper and experience more in a, yeah, I don't know. That's initially what I have to say. So how about you, Leigh? Have anything to jump
I
on?
wanted to know I was thinking about two things this week. The first thing I was thinking of is, like you were talking about, Yvonne, you just mentioned that a lot of us like make these realizations kind of later in our life. And okay, that's fine. Everyone's on their journey. But, I feel like it's important to get this information out to people who are younger. And I was just wondering, how we could collaboratively do that. And then, on a side note, getting more back in, I'm just saying, what if you're living totally on the surface? How, what's the first step to realizing that you're the force?
That takes a lot. The first thing that most people do first is that they learn about creation of reality. And they study creation of reality in various ways. Like they would do it with us. They might do it with somebody who approaches it through a scientific perspective about how your brain works, how every cell in your brain works. And so some people prefer it like that. But I think in a sense, everybody seeks, because innately we know that there's something there, regardless if we are atheists or agnostics, there's something there. So even with the idea of recognizing ourselves. See, if we recognize ourselves and want to do quote unquote good things for ourselves, that's beginning to recognize your forceness without you knowing the force, without saying you're the force. You're using it. And I think it's not an experiment with it. It's like, for instance, children for Christmas or Hanukkah or a religious holiday that gives presents as an exchange. You know, the children are looking forward to it. They have such open hearts about, oh, I want this, I want that, you know. And so what do the parents do? The parents usually go out and try and get those things for the children. If they buy it for the children, or they go out to churches that are giving donations, you know, or synagogues, temples, you know, they'll get the things that they need to give their child. Maybe their child won't get everything. Maybe the child will not get everything, and sometimes the child will get everything. That child is learning that, oh, if I think about this, I'm going to get it. If I think about this, I'm going to get it. You know, I had a child who would sit in on the classes, and he wanted a bicycle. So he learned, let me create this. And about a month later, he said, I got a bicycle for my birthday. You know, so we kind of learn it like by way of the back door, as I call it, that we can make things happen because we think about it and it happens. And there's not going to be anybody in this world who has not experienced that. You know, I would bet money on that. There's nobody that can stand before the three of us and say, I've never had that experience. You've thought about something and you've seen it actualized. So that's I would say is the beginning, because I know I didn't know anything about creation of reality, but I started learning, you know, as a kid, if I thought about something, hey. So that's what we learn as children. Now, if we've chosen to be in families that are quite challenging, that are providing us with a financial challenge or providing us with an abusive challenge, that might change, because you don't want to think that you created, that your parent has beaten you practically to death or molested you or something like that. Then it's going to be harder to get to that. But if it's something that makes you happy, you know, about being here on earth, it's like Yvonne said, life is an adventure. You know, you see all these wonderful things you're experiencing, then you begin to say, oh, I can create this. So, but you don't look at it like, or in fact, don't even use the word create. But children begin to do it.
Right, but I mean, part of me thinks one of the good experiences about growing up as a Catholic in that tradition was Christmas, and you write a list and you think about it and you wanted things all year long, but then like you still think that it's some externality. Santa brings it. Not that, you know, you're creating it for yourself. It's like someone outside of you is doing it. However, I mean, you know, I do still think that in some ways that tradition is really nice, because if you have created to be in a place that, you know, is fortunate enough to, you know, have the funds to be able to make some magic on that one morning after you know, leave your cookies for Santa and then, you know, try so hard to go to sleep that night looking forward. I mean, yeah, I think that's what we need. Like, I mean, of us that have experienced that as children, I think we need to sort of rekindle that exuberance, that expectancy, that knowing that good things are coming.
The joy.
Right, like back to our adult life. I mean, how many times since you found out that Santa Claus didn't exist, could you like not go to sleep the night before something out of like sheer excitement and expectation, you know? And I really think we need that again. So, you know, as a like a touchstone for those of us who have had that experience as younger children, you know, maybe we need to remember that a little more, like that feeling, if you know, to just get there again.
I think you're right. I would agree with you. And as you were talking, I was thinking in terms of how we're evoluting, because as children, you're right. We think Santa Claus. You know, if we're Christians, we basically think Santa Claus. I think other religions and other cultures have different names for Santa Claus, but it's still that individual doing something great for us and helping us to feel excited over just living. We're so excited at that time. However, the interesting part becomes when someone along the line tells us that Santa Claus does not exist.
Right.
Oh, the devastation of it all.
Yeah, so then we evolve, we go into another whole way of thinking about it, you know, because Santa doesn't exist. And sometimes another child tells you, I don't know how I found out that Santa wasn't real. I can't even remember that. But I remember, you know, I thought Santa was real. You know, I believed in Santa. I loved it, you know. But I see what you're saying, though, Leigh, is let's embrace life. Let's embrace it. But then the question becomes, how do we embrace that which is challenging us? How do we embrace that? Because I think we'd want to be in a state of peace, unconditional love. Those are like the presents under the tree, you know, the bicycle, the joy.
Mm-hmm.
How do we embrace and bring to ourselves the joy when I am faced with losing my house? How do I embrace joy when I watch a family relative dying from something? How do I embrace that joy? How do I go back to the time when I was a child and I was waiting with great expectation for Santa to come down the chimney when I didn't even have a chimney? You know, he was supposed to come down, you know, they always show you pictures of it coming down the fireplace. And I used to always wonder, well, how is Santa going to get to me? Because we don't have a fireplace. Mm-hmm. You know, and being a child, I wasn't even thinking of a chimney on the house, period. So I think that's
life. Creation. You created it.
Yeah. Yeah, but who's thinking about that? You know, I'm sure my mother said, don't worry, Greta, he'll get here. You know, he'll get here. But we see all the movies, you know, the sleigh and go reindeer, go. And
yeah, it's snowing in the tropics, everything.
Yes. And they're jumping. He goes down and lands on the roof and goes down the chimney and through the fireplace and puts all those gifts there, eats the cookies, drinks the milk, and off he's gone. You wake up in the morning, you go, ooh. And heaven help you if your parents forgot to take the cookies away and the milk. So when you wake up, oh, Santa didn't take my cookies. Santa didn't take my milk. Okay. So now part of the joy is gone. But then the parent will say, but look what you got, a train. Oh.
So maybe that's the tactic. It's like somewhat of a diversion, right? And we have to go into our first break. So we will discuss more when we get back about transitioning, about pivoting from challenges to something else. So stay with us. You've been listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We are on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Yvonne. I'm here with Leigh and Gretta, and of course, the Realm of Beings every Friday. And we discuss the creation of reality by unpacking quotes that the Realm of Beings has generously bestowed upon us through Gretta. And today's quote is, "Life is an adventure that you committed to experience as the force in a state of deepness within." And on break, we were just discussing how as much planning as we can do for these podcasts, they just never seem to follow the program and follow the notes. And, today we're talking about Santa Claus. How did that happen? But I don't know, it gives me a little bit of time to reflect on the idea of presence. Santa Claus is known to bestow presents upon us. And the reason this came up, Leigh was kind of contemplating, how we could get people, or how we could become aware at an earlier age in our journey here in this lifetime of these concepts that we're discussing in the podcast, so that we don't have to go through an entire 60 years of maybe suffering or living out of sync with life. And so for me, I think as I look on my journey, the idea of presence is really important, kind of focusing and honing in on the present moment, no matter what is going on in my life. Gretta mentioned, people that are losing their house, have financial challenges. It's not easy, doing that, focusing in on maybe going out in nature and watching the birds, dig for worms or making their nests, or the flowers that are emerging here in the East Coast in springtime. But I think those are the moments that do bring us joy and bring us back into gratitude and appreciation. And that's what leads to deepening within and recognizing that we're all connected and that we are all the force. My son, this morning we were talking about something, and he's generation obviously younger than I am, and he brought up, or I was sad because I had some bad news this morning. I was feeling sad because a very good friend of mine from childhood told me she has cancer. And of course it's scary, and you start going into that rabbit hole of oh my God, is she gonna die? And like, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna suffer? So you're getting into that state of fear. And then I told my son, who has known her for his whole lifetime, and then he sort of brought up, well, he goes, I hear that every cell in your body is coming on board and being recreated, trillions of them in an instant. And he just said, he goes, what if instead of imparting in those cells that are creating your body, what if, they're like programmed to not have cancer through your mind, and that you kind of recreate a body that's cancer free. I'm not saying don't do the regular things that you would normally do, like that science or the medical community would advise you to, but think how powerful those treatments would be if you had a constant force that's walking in partnership, and also creating good health, good wealth, or whatever it is that you want to, you're creating your life and have a change. So yeah, there we go. That's my little take in chapter 2 here. So.
And thank you, Yvonne, that you paused and talked about presence. I guess it's a little punish English wordplay, right? So, I think to address Greta's earlier question, in all seriousness, before we went into the break about, dealing with these, more challenging subjects in our life, I think you're so right. It's about that pausing and trying to not get sucked into the whirlwind of victim mentality. And if you can quiet yourself a little bit, and of course, we're creating this, we experience these situations for some learning, I guess, experience in our life. And I guess if you're losing your home, maybe you have to consider how you were responsible or not with your finances, and the role that you played in it, not just maybe blame a greedy society or whatever. And if you have someone in your life who's dying or suffering from an illness, maybe we need to consider how we can step up within ourselves and support that person better, or learn to be a better partner or better friend, or more compassionate person. So if we can pause, and that's the thing, right? That goes back to the quote we were talking about today. Just go within and ask yourself, what am I to learn here?
Right. I'm in agreement with that. I, when you start thinking about challenges and so forth, I looked at the movie on Netflix called The World Trade Center. I revisited that. At the time, I didn't know why I was going to revisit it. But it was about the World Trade Center challenge that we had as a collective, and the emotions and everything that went in there. So I equate that challenge with the challenge that Yvonne said her friend was having, and challenges that I know that people are having, the wars that are taking place around this globe that are going on. What is that? What is that? That is a creation, a collective creation. Because everything is creation of reality. I don't care what it is. Everything is creation of reality. Sometimes we individually create it. Sometimes we collectively create it. And there are things that are going on now that some people are really tied into emotionally that we have created collectively. So how do we deal with that? And I think what you said was absolutely, I'm in agreement with that when you said going within. That's what the quote says, go within. Those are really opportunities for our growth. growth and to go within. The reason why I mentioned the World Trade Center film was because it focused on two men who were policemen, and they had gone in to help get some of the people out. When they went in, however, they were in the concourse, and that's at the time they were there, the buildings collapsed. So the whole story deals about two families of the two men that were caught in the rubble that were still living. Actually, there were three. One person decided that he just could not deal with this and wanted to exit. So he committed suicide right there because he couldn't deal with it. The other two people decided that they were going to live. Regardless of what happened, they were going to live. They created to do that. And they also, because of that tenacious spirit. See, I think we have to have a tenacious spirit. We have to say, okay, this is happening to me, but I'm getting through this. See, sometimes we go the opposite direction. We say, oh, woe is me. What's going to happen to me? No, let's go the opposite way. Let's have a tenacious spirit, regardless of what is going on around us. Let's pull up that strength that's deep within us. That's what that quote, it says, go deep in a state of deepness within. The force is not outside, the force is inside. So the more you go inside yourself, the more you develop a tenacious spirit, and you know, I can make it through anything. Those two men survived that. One person, one character, and I'm sure it was based on a real person. He was in another state and said, I'm going there to help these people. And he was by himself. And then another man joined him, and they went and searched and found those two men. One was deeper than the other, and those two men survived, you know. But it was out of, they had to go within themselves. Maybe they don't even know that they were the force, but they knew that they had to pull up the strength. They gave courage to each other. They said, you can do this, stay alive, don't go to sleep. They did all of that. So anybody who's out there can get through anything. I don't care what it is. Anything, as long as you want to get through it. As long as you've put up here in your brain, I am through this. I am through this. Like your friend who's experiencing cancer. All she has to do is decide, I don't care if the stuff is metastasizing through her whole body. You can always turn it around and say, I am not accepting this. I am not. That's part of it. And sometimes we don't know anything about creation of reality, but we can say, I don't accept this. I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, the rubble that those men were in was tremendous. But they hung in there and they said, we're not dying today. I'm not dying today.
And
I'm committed to living. I'm committed. That's the commitment. I'm committed to living. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leigh. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, those are the things that we say miracles are made of, right? That if someone heals their cancer, or two men, stayed alive where many others had perished, right? We call that a miracle, but that's just actually what you were saying about this tenacity of spirit. And we do have the power to create our lives, to create our existence, to create our health status. when we believe that that is what we want.
How
Yes,
about that? How about that pilot? This is talk about miracle. The miracle on the Hudson that landed the plane, a
Mhm.
commercial airline landed that plane effortlessly on the river in New York, the Hudson River, and everybody said it's a miracle. He talk about tenacious. He knew he was skilled. He knew what he had to do, and he saved himself plus all of his passengers. And yeah, I mean, that's another great example of deciding I'm not going to let circumstances take me away from what I need to do and what I know I have to do. Yeah. Well, we are I don't know, today's podcast just seems to have flew by. We're really at the end of this segment, getting ready to go on our second break. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, listeners, for staying with us and exploring this quote about adventure, commitment, and deepness and the force. So give us a couple minutes and we will be right back. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You've been listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We have reached that part of the podcast where we get to hear how the Realm of Beings wants to weigh in on our conversation today. So I would like to know, Realm, are you with us?
yes, yes, we're here.
Okay. Today, we've been talking about the quotation, life is an adventure that you committed to experience as the force in a state of deepness within. So, can you add to our discussion today?
Hmm. Yes, in that many people don't see themselves as the force. So consequently, it becomes a challenge for them to go within. They prefer to look external. They prefer to blame others, blame situations, blame things. They find it difficult to look within. But everything is within. Your creations of realities are within you. Your collective creations of realities are in you. Because when you have a collective, let's look at the word collective. It means group to you. You see a collective meaning individual parts of something. We collectively have created this reality. There are realities that you have created inside your existence at this time that have tested your, as Gretta said, your tenacious spirit. You created these things together, yet you created them as one. You see yourself separate. One group sees themselves over here doing this, and they think that they're right. Then the other group sees themselves over on this side saying they're right. And then there are others that are just standing back as spectators, but yet are fueling the reality. Stepping back, not in the complete experience of it, but step back and judge the experience. I think I'm going to be with this group. Somebody else will say, I'm going to be with this group. I feel that this group is correct. And then there'll be another stand what do you call those people that just stand bystanders that say they don't believe in any group. Both of them are wrong. So there's always judgment involved in your creation of reality. But you have definitely, as humanoids, created several over all of this expanse of years that you have been humanoid, have created several experiences just to test your tenacious spirit. Some of you would say, oh, this is good and bad. This is evil. Look what this person has done. Look what this person is doing. Blaming, and giving fuel to the fire. You fuel it.
Realm, speaking of this, maybe you heard me talking earlier when we were not on air, and that's what you're getting into right now. But how, as you know, us here and maybe the people listening to us in our current collective global situation, what can we as individual humanoids do to not add fuel to that fire, so to speak?
See peace within.
Okay.
If each person sees peace within themselves, then you forget that you are one, not separate. When one person sees peace and is a strong believer in that and sees it existing, regardless of what is showing itself, see peace, then you cannot fuel that. You cannot fuel war. You cannot fuel mayhem, but it must be within you. You think external. I want to bring peace to this group of people. It's to bring peace to self. Because when you bring peace to self, you automatically bring peace to that which you see outside. Because outside is a collective group of thought.
So do we even bother to pay any attention to the outside collective groups of thought? Or should we just focus not on what's out there, just focus on our own interior peace?
The interior peace is what will help you. But the thing is that you get so caught up in the emotions of things. You get caught up in emotions, perceptions of how you see things, and perceptions are judgment of situations. You get caught up in judgment. If every one of you saw peace, there could be no war. If every one of you could look inside and be deep within and know you are the force, what is the use of a war? What is the use of that? But some people think it's useful because there are individuals here on your planet that want to keep these situations going because it provides them with a false sense of power. A false sense of power within them. They think they are powerful and can rule, and they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything at all, really, but just testing an illusion. But how Can you think that something's an illusion when you see people's bodies being mangled? It's so believable. But the one thing is always go internal into self. That's where you want to be, internal into self. And only send unconditional love. People send money, they send money and say, okay, what is money? It's a form of energy, but it's not as strong as sending unconditional love to all, not just to one side or another, but to all. It's like the example Yvonne brought up of the woman who's in a cancer challenge, is to go within herself and send love to herself. See, all of this is all about loving unconditionally. This is what you're learning here. This war is to teach you to appreciate the alternative toward it, to appreciate more and more of having peace, to appreciate peace so much that you instill it within yourself, and instilling it within yourself, you're instilling it in others. You might see that it's not doing a doggone thing, but it is. It's energy. So with the amount of money that you send your thoughts of peace. It's more powerful than that dollar.
Realm. We have a way of accepting questions from our viewers. Would you be open to the question that just came through on the website?
Of course, of course.
Okay. It is from Chris from Illinois, who asks, who is talking? Who is giving us this visionary information? Is it a human or spirit channeled?
Interesting, interesting. We are not humanoid. We are passing by way of Gretta's vehicle. We are using Gretta's vocal cords and that which assists her in speaking. But we are not humanoid as you are. We are a different species. We are a species of pure thought. We have no corporal bodies unless we so create them. Does that answer that person's question?
Yes, I think so, unless we hear something else from them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris, for asking. Realm, we are on our way to wrapping up another podcast. Do you have some other closing thoughts for the people listening today?
Think peace. Be peace. I'll say that again. Think peace. Be peace. That's it for today. Other than love yourselves. Love yourselves unconditionally. And love each person, regardless of how you see them manifesting themselves. because the manifestation that they are showing you is personality that they have chosen to experience the adventure of life as you see it.
Thank you, Realm. Thank you, Yvonne and Greta. And that just about wraps up our podcast today. I thought it was very interesting that the Realm was mentioning that what we're seeing in today's current events is the reflection of not peace. So that is a reminder to me about what I am creating in my internal world to be more peaceful within. Yvonne, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, more of the same. Just, take a pause, like just a few little tools to leave our listeners, our viewers with is, every morning when you wake up, just say an affirmation. I am experiencing peace. I am experiencing unconditional love, and whatever other things that you want to put in to make it your own. But, together we have a collective energy, the force that will help not only us, but each other and this whole world to create and manifest what we would like to see. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, Realm of Beings. This is Leigh signing off until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.